This is a worked example on how to graph a relation. So in this example, we're given the following relation. We have the coordinate pair m and 2m, and then we're provided with certain restrictions on m. So just as a reminder, this is what's called set builder notation. So right here, we're provided with the actual form that our points are going to come in, and then we have this list of restrictions which actually defines what m is and isn't allowed to be. And so you want to take those two facts and use that to build a graph of the relation. In a lot of these examples where you're given specific values of the variable to evaluate, I like to make a table. So you want to keep in mind that instead of a traditional table that you might see in like an algebra class, we don't necessarily know the value of one of the columns, right? We're used to having an XY table. I already know the values here and I'm just computing them. Well, we're not necessarily given that in this case. Instead, we have this arbitrary value of m and this arbitrary value of 2m, and I can actually go through and fill out both columns of the table simultaneously just based off of what the instructions given to me in this set are. So the first value is that m can be 0, so that's an easy one. We have m equals 0. And then 2 times m equals 0 is also 0. And so I filled out the first row of the table. The next value is that we can have a negative 1. And then if I take 2 times negative 1, I get negative 2. Again, we could have a positive 1. And then 2 times positive 1 would be positive 2. And then we can have a negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Positive 2. 2 times positive 2 is, positive 4. Okay, so now we have a set of pairs that we can work with. So let's actually try and graph this. Again, this is not going to be the most accurate thing in the world, but let me give myself at least 4 tick marks on each side. Okay, so now we can start graphing m. Let's do it in a color. I'll do it in green just so it shows up nicer. The first point is at 0, 0. The next point, and these might feel a little out of order, but that's totally fine. Negative 1, negative 2, so that would be here, down here. Then we have 1, comma 2, which will be right here. Negative 2, negative 4. My scaling of my graph is a bit off, but that's okay. And then we have over 2, up 4, which should be right about here. The last thing to keep in mind is it can be very tempting to try and draw a line through all of this and connect it up. You actually don't want to do that in this case. My specific relation only defines m for those specific 5 points, right? If I tried to fill in a line for this segment, that would claim that there's a value of m right here, which is what, like 1.5? And that is never listed in my relation. So that is not a valid point on the graph. So don't fill in those lines, or don't fill in those points. Whatever is given to you in the relation, that is strictly the only thing that you're going to graph. But this is indeed the final answer, and that's how you graph a relation.